Good day everyone, I am Maria Angelica Bogñalbal from Group 2 and me, together with my group mates, will present the second educational theory on which science teaching is grounded. The theory that we will present is all about social cognition or social cognitive theory SCT, and without further ado, let's start with the learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to explain the social cognitive theory, identify the difference of social cognitive theory among other theories, and differentiate the three theoretical components of SCT. And now, let's begin the discussion with history of social cognitive theory. The intellectual foundation of social cognitive theory came from Edwin B. Holt and Harold Champman Brown's 1931 book, which theorizes that all animal behavior is based on satisfying the psychological demands of feeling, emotion, and desire. This theory's most prominent feature is that it predicted that a person cannot learn to imitate unless they are imitated. In 1941, Neil E. Miller and John Dollard published a book that included a version of Holt's social learning and imitation theory. They contended that four components influence learning, and those components are desires, signals, and responses and rewards. Miller and Dollard claimed that if a person was driven to acquire a certain activity, the behavior would be learned through explicit observations. In 1961 and 1963, the time where Bandura and his students and colleagues conducted the Bobo doll experiment to determine why and when children exhibit aggressive behaviors. These findings aided Bandura in publishing his major paper and book in 1977, which enlarged on Miller's and Dollard's study and so built on it. Bandura asserted in a 1977 article that social learning theory demonstrates a direct relationship between a person's perceived self-efficacy and behavioral change. More so, in 1986, Bandura published his second book, which developed and renamed his original theory. He called this book Social Cognitive Theory. Bandura modified the word to stress the importance of cognition and the encoding and performance of activities. Bandura stated in this work that personal, behavioral, and environmental influences all contribute to human behavior. And finally, in a journal published in 2001, Bandura introduced SCT to mass communication, stating that theory might be used to examine how symbolic communication affects human thinking, feelings, and behavior. The idea explains how psychosocial variables affect the learning and adaptation of new behaviors in society. So, that was the brief discussion of the history of social cognitive theory. And now, let us proceed to the overview of the lesson. So what is social cognitive theory? So, social cognitive theory is a learning theory developed by the renowned Canadian psychologist Albert Bandura, as I've mentioned earlier in the history of SCL. So, the idea provides a framework for understanding how individuals actively shape their environment and are shaped by it. So the theory goes into depth onto the process of observational learning and modeling, as well as the impact of self-efficacy on behavior production. So Bandura's schematization of triadic reciprocal causation in his book explains the main elements of this theory. The schema shows how the reproduction of an observed behavior is influenced by the interaction of the following three determinants. So those three determinants are personal, behavioral, and environmental. So let's briefly discuss these three. So the first one is personal. So this relates to whether the individual has a high or low level of self-efficacy in relation to the conduct. Example, get the learner to believe in his or her personal abilities to correctly complete a behavior. Second is behavioral. So it refers to the reaction an individual receives after completing the behavior. Examples provide opportunities for the learner to experience effective learning as a result of appropriately executing the activity. And last, we have environmental. It refers to the aspects of the environment or setting that impact an individual's capacity to accomplish an activity successfully. Example, make environmental conditions conducive for improved self-efficacy by providing appropriate support and materials. And that was the overview of SCL or Social Cognitive Theory, SCT. Now let's proceed to the theoretical components of social cognition theory.
Good day everyone, I'm Christine Joy D. Concepcion and I'm going to report the observational learning. Observational learning is all about a major component of social cognitive theory. It is a process of learning by watching the behaviors of others. This asserts that people can witness and observe a behavior conducted by others and then reproduce it by action. This is often exhibited through modeling of behaviors. If an individual sees successful demonstration of behavior, they also complete the behavior successfully. Observational learning occurs through a sequence of 4 processes. The first one is attentional processes. If an organism is going to learn anything from a model, he or she must be paying attention to it and the behavior it exhibits. Many conditions can affect the observer's attention. For instance, if the observer is sleepy, ill, or distracted, he or she will be less likely to learn the model behavior, and it will imitate it later date. The second one is retention processes. The second requirement of observational learning is being able to learn or remember the behavior that was witnessed. If a human or animal does not remember the behavior, there is less than probable chance that they will imitate it. Third one is all about the production processes. This requisite of behavior concerns the physical and mental ability of the individual to copy the behavior he or she observed. For instance, a young child may observe a college basketball player dunk a ball. Later, when the child has a basketball, he or she may attempt to dunk a ball just like the college player. And the last one is all about motivational processes. Perhaps the most important aspect of observational learning involves motivation. If the human or animals does not have a reason for imitating the behavior, then no amount of attention, retention, or reproduction will overcome the lack of motivation.
Good day everyone! Now let's move to the next framework for understanding how people actively shape and are shaped by their environment. Self-efficacy. As other process, self-efficacy is a key element of social cognitive theory. Why? According to Bandura, 1986, self-efficacy is the belief in one's capabilities to organize and execute sources of action required to manage prospective situations. So in other words, it refers to the level of a person's confidence in his or her ability to successfully perform a behavior. Let's make it simple for us to understand better. We can relate self-efficacy to confidence. Building belief in our own capabilities increase our level of self-efficacy and influence what we are able to do. For example, we are able to maintain a more positive attitude that in turn positively impacts our emotional state and level of motivation. We are better able to find the strength from within to accept setbacks as challenges and to more easily persevere in the face of difficulties. Applying it in the classroom, information models can convey during observational learning. Models can increase or decrease the observer's belief in their self-efficacy to enact observed behavior and bring about desired outcomes from those behavior. It's like when people see others like them to succeed. they also believe they can be capable of succeeding. Thus, models are a source of motivation and inspiration. In addition, Dr. Albert Bandura developed a scientifically based process for enhancing self-efficacy. The first step is to set a series of ever more difficult goals. The accomplishment of each enhances the belief that we can achieve the next. This creates an experience of mastery, which is the foundation of a strong sense of self-belief. The second step is to identify a model to which we aspire, such as one or more people living with Parkinson's who are managing their Parkinson's. Well, it is like seeing others in a similar situation succeed through their own determined effort, raises the belief that we too can overcome the specific challenges we face. The third step is to seek out positive reinforcement and encouragement, which strengthens our belief that we have what it takes to succeed. So, did we understand what is self-efficacy? Let's have a simple recap. Once we have a high self-efficacy, we tend to set ambitious goals for ourselves. We are believing in ourselves that we are able to do what we desire. So, those with high self-efficacy often perform better at school, while those with low self-efficacy often fall behind and struggle to catch up. So, we should enhance our self-efficacy because it can be a great help to routinely achieve our goals.
Good day everybody, I'm Eunice Batacan and I will gonna discuss the modeling media about social cognition theory. So modeling media is defined as any type of mass communication, television, movies, magazine, music, and etc. that serves as a model for observing and imitating behavior. In other words, it is a means by which people can learn new behaviors. The prosocial potential of media models has been demonstrated through serial dramas that were produced for developing communities on issues such as literacy, family, planning, and the status of women. These dramas have been successful in bringing about positive social change while demonstrating the relevance and applicability of social cognitive theory to media. For example, a television show in India was produced to raise women's status and promote smaller families by embedding these ideas in the show. The show championed gender equality by including characters that positively modeled women's equality. In addition, there were other characters that modeled subservient women's roles and some that transitioned between subservience and equality. The show was popular and despite its melodramatic narrative, viewers understood the messages it models. These viewers learned that women should have equal rights, should have the freedom to choose how they live their lives, and be able to limit the size of their families. In this example and others, the tenets of social cognitive theory have been utilized to make a positive impact through fictional media models.